Hello, I'm sorry that I'm late. Few little technical issues. And this is one of the reasons that I do a Friday night afternoon live when I figure it's going to be quiet and not too many people are going to care too much that I'm late and that my audio is a little low again. Got a new mic coming next week. I just bought it. Oh, it's WineOclock. So cheers. I'm still not convinced this is a great idea. Being someone who doesn't drink a lot, I didn't do very well after last Friday, but who knows? Maybe I'll get better at it. So I'll just need to make sure everything's working. Yes, it is. That looks like it is. And we just do, the run through. We check to see all the bits and bobs are there. So Gary Hayes says hic. That deserves another salutation. Salute, whatever. No, this is my first glass, I promise you. I decided to try champagne. I'm not sure wine agrees with me. Fun fact, I grew up in a wine area and my first paid job, no, that one I got sacked, but it was the same. And then the second paid job was working in a winery. I didn't get sacked. I got accidentally drunk on mulled rosé in a freezing cold wine cellar. And I thought the mulled rosé was like a red cordial, the one you have when you have a cold and you can heat it up. You know the one. Not Lucozade, the other one. So that looks like it's working. I've decided on purple today. If you have a preference, you can let me know. We could try maybe, I don't know, maybe a nice red colour, warm things up. Or purple, blue, purple. It's a bit too cold, I think. Let's go a bit warmer. The weather's all over the place at the moment. I'm aware that I'm normally in grown-up clothing, but I've done quite a few Zooms this week and today I've had free. So it's the hoodie and a t-shirt and wine. That's the best that you'll get. All right, so what we're going to do, I believe, is her news, wasn't it? I think what I'll do is I'll just bring up another little window so that we can see the news. So we go here and we go here. I'm not sure my audio is the same on these are called scenes. I'm not sure that I've got the audio on the same on every scene. Once the new mic and mic arm arrive, it'll be good. What do we have today? One of the reasons I wanted to talk today was that the head of Google Social had a few things to say about social media and managing crisis comms. And then when I was looking, I couldn't find it again. So there you go. Virgin Australia business class customers fume after being served 2-minute noodles. My experience on Virgin Australia was where the business class staff were trying to make people upset. And one guy threatened to hit one of the guys and one of the women burst into tears. And then they were going in the back area and laughing their heads off about it. And that's not the only time. I have a clause not to fly Virgin Australia. And occasionally I still have to. And it's so interesting. Every time I do, it must be the most toxic culture in the world. Not in the world. I'm sure there's worse, but whatever. And by the way, I don't pay for business class. My client does, and I get upset on my client's behalf. So let's have a look at this. What do we have? The airline is blaming COVID-19 for its low-budget food offerings. Double down on your customer service. Triple down, quadruple down on your customer service when times are shit. Technical term, I'm allowed to. It's Friday afternoon. It's WineOclock. Quadruple. If you used to have 100 customers 10 times a day, and now you've got one customer once a day, you treat that one customer like royalty. Don't you? I found it interesting that in the Great Depression, companies were pulling back on marketing, but the ones that double down on marketing, double down on customer service, double down on everything, came out of the Depression in fantastic shape, because people remembered that they were there for them, that they, like the hotels in New York that opened up for medical staff and for health service staff, and said, well, the hotel's empty, so you might as well come and use it. And there were top hotels in New York. And I thought that was a fantastic thing to do. And New Yorkers won't forget that. They're a tough bunch, but they won't forget. So you give somebody noodles, they're not going to forget that either, but for a different reason. Just like I never forgot that 8 years ago or something, Virgin Australia was trying to make passengers cry. A horrible company, in my opinion. It's almost vino nemba. It is. And I would just say it is not October for me. It's October. It's sober month most months, but not this month. Deborah Shaw. I think it's a great idea, LP. Don't say that. I had decided that I would, you never do things on social media once and then go, it didn't work. I tried it, it didn't work. That's called anecdotal evidence or demographic of one. And so I have clients and I say to them, you need to share content, not just your own content, not just me media. You need to share other people's media, because the algorithm looks at the audience that interacted with that media elsewhere, those social assets elsewhere, and then gives you that audience as well. And they say, no, I tried to share an article a few times and it performed really badly. I'm like, yes, you've got to do things a few times to retrain the algorithm. So I'm not sure what I'm training the algorithm, except that maybe I need help. I wish I had orange juice. Is that terrible? They're being labelled as appalling and unacceptable by people on social media, including a Twitter user who says his airfare cost $2,500. I found it interesting. When I complained about poor customer service, I was told that it was a first world problem. And what I realized was that first world problems actually equals poor customer service, and we pay and we expect a service. We didn't get that service, and then it's our fault because we pay too much money. Not sure how that works as somebody who can't afford to fly business class on her own, but if my clients have got a budget for business class for conference attendees, lecturers and speakers, sure, I'll take it. And do they still serve wine on flights? Let's go back to the story. Onboard catering will be longer term. We're looking forward to developing a new experience to suit customers' needs. And this is the problem that I have, is there's something called in venture capital and when you're looking at the worth of a business, it's called the intangible. So Warren Buffett talks about the amortization of the intangible. And the intangible is effectively brand goodwill in the community. So as an example, if somebody was to put out a rumor that Krispy Kreme donuts had been poisoned or something like that, Krispy Kreme's brand would dive, and stock would dive on an unverifiable claim. And the intangible is the long-term problem that occurs for that brand. Like it reminds me of how Johnson and Johnson have continued issues. They went from being the top brand for testing and great crisis comms communication around brand problems, and then it was discovered that asbestos in baby powder and all kinds of things were allegedly happening. Remind me to say allegedly, because it's hard to get out when you've been drinking. And they have now long-term issues. Would you look at J&J and think, oh yeah, I'm not sure? And think of all the chefs out there who hospitality has been, hit by a bat. Why aren't businesses supporting the chefs and looking to do short-term win-win with a long-term win-win with some of the chefs and things like that are suffering? I don't know. Not a fan of Virgin, but you make up your own mind. Does this $12 burger deserve a Michelin star? I'm not going to read that. I'm hungry. Labour calls Clive Palmer a liar over death tax claims, demands social media posts be taken down. These are interesting because regulation comes from these. Oh, it's a friggin' paywall. Exhibit A. News Corp and ACCC and Australian media are complaining that things that are shared on social media lose the money, and then the minute you actually click on them on social media, you can't get to them because of the paywall. It just doesn't make sense. Women in Agriculture recognised today on International Rural Women's Day. Now, let's see if they use the hashtags for... No, it's Sky. They wouldn't. There's a bunch of hashtags for rural and country Australia, just to make sure that the content distributes and disseminates into rural Australia. And, like Westpac Rural use it. I know, because I've spoken at some of their country conferences for businesses in the country, and others don't. What's my favourite? On Tuesdays, Spit Bucket for wine industry. Oh, I've got to drink again. And I think there's one for rural teachers. There's an Oz Teach, OZ these are. And there's also, I can't remember, but there's I always, when I was working with Meat Livestock and companies like that, we had 20 that we would look at, premium A grade hashtags that were hard to get attention on, and then little local hashtags for geocentric distribution, basically small towns, hashtag Mudgee, and then there were industry verticals. What's the one the tractor guys use? I can't remember. ACC. They mean ACCC. I'll put you back on there so you can see. Fines phone companies for making false claims about unlimited data. Is that a social media thing? Probably not. It's just a making claims across different platforms thing. Let's see what Facebook's had to say. If you're just joining us, us, there's a few of us, Friday afternoons is about grabbing a wine, grabbing a beer, knocking off from work earlier, and catching up on the social media news for Australia. Hick. And let me have a look. And seeing just really what's been happening for the week. Technology's always played an important role in how we review content. Today, our artificial intelligence, I want to look at this. I stay up to date on this stuff as much as one can. And I'm interested in it. And the reason why is because people say, oh, Facebook hired thousands and thousands of content moderators. But what the content moderators were doing, I don't know if that's got any sound. I can't hear it. I'm guessing it might be. What the content moderators are doing are they're training the AI. So the AI watches what content moderators say, this is good, this is bad, and all the review comments, and then it's learning like a child learns through behavioral modifications, through behavioral modeling. So the content moderators model the behaviors by reviewing the content. And what Facebook does is it makes sure that one piece of content gets reviewed by 100 or 1,000 reviewers, and then the algorithm analyzes the reviewers. Does that make sense? So it's like children watching what their mum says, their dad says, their aunties, their uncles, their teachers, the next door neighbor, the idiot at the traffic lights, and then can make an assumption on their worldview through behavior modeling. So AI is just like a child learning that. It's the matrix. It's learning from us. Given that, I don't know if you can read this, it says, haha, good one, even reporting manually does nothing against the endless Bitcoin scam rings. So Glenn's obviously got upset about this. Don't blame you, Glenn. Facebook has its own little Bitcoin called, is it Karma? It's supposed to be released in February, but because of COVID, it got delayed. It's a peer-to-peer currency that I suspect that they will move into their marketplace, and then they will eat eBay's lunch. That'll be interesting. What else do we have here? No comments there. Any comments here? Yep, goody. So let me just pick something else out. Okay, this one. This is actually Facebook, and they're doing quite a good job at the moment, or the PR agency in Australia are doing quite a good job at collating and curating information to help small businesses use Facebook better or to connect and things like that. So there's Plug a Business Tasmania, and they're looking at the grant that Facebook were offering. I passed that information on to a bunch of people and none of them were eligible for it. So there were some interesting things about it. But there is a grant from Facebook to support small business if you meet their criteria. Good luck with that one. That deserves a drink. If you're not sure and would like to investigate, no. Facebook Australia grant. This is it, but this is the US version. Where's the Australian version? I remember the smiling guy. Oh no, you choose your location. Oh, there we go. We're sorry, but we're no longer accepting applications in your area. They had a really small amount of money. Let me just put this on here so you can see it more clearly. They had a really small amount of money available, and nobody I passed it to was eligible. So, I think it was probably more of a PR thing than anything else. Don't you hate that? Like, come on. It's those companies that say, and small companies I give a pass to because they don't know what they're doing. But remember the big companies that say things like, give this post a like and we'll donate $1 for every like up to $1,000. So they're looking for 1,000 likes. And I'm like, yeah, no, my like is worth more than $1. Rack off. Small companies, fine. Small companies do the most bizarre things, and then they call me with their knickers in a knot because they've broken every term and condition in the book. And I get it because it's not easy for them to understand. They see other people doing it, and monkey see, monkey do. Behavioral modeling again. And, that's just the nature of the business. And I don't know what to tell you. I think that if a large company does it, they should be made an example of. And I've seen, Facebook make an example of Westfield, for instance, and companies like that. So I would prefer that than some little hairdressing salon or horse riding stud. That's an actual example. Got made an example of. That's not fair. What else do we have here? Facebook Live. Oh, Facebook. I don't want that one. What do we have for Marketing Australia? Just let that come in for a sec. So we've got no, 2 months ago. Oh, that's most popular. Come on, Facebook Australia, or PR agency that's really well known, get your act together. Reddit and diversity, inclusion and belonging. I'm sorry, have you met Reddit? I'm not being smart when I say it can be as much of a cesspool as Twitter is. What else do we have in here? Sorry this is a bit slow, but hey, it's Friday afternoon. We're just having a drink and a bit of a chat. Have you got any questions for me? That's right, I did ask on a few of my platforms. So let me have a quick look and see what we can see. Okay, no. And dude that's spamming, I blocked you already. I can multitask, meaning I can read the screen and I can chat and I can block people and I can drink wine, champagne. Not sure how much longer for, but we'll keep going until I can't do it anymore. I've been doing 3 Zoom sessions a day mentoring with clients. And then today was just like, stop already, just enough. Which is interesting because I can work all day on things where, You know, we can get up and go to the loo or get a glass of water or go and have a look at the weather outside or just walk and think for a few minutes. And on Zoom, I think your clients would think you're a bit crazy if you just spent just a second and got up and walked away. Maybe I should try it now. No, I'm not going to do that. All right, back to here again. Let me have a look. I'll put us up, both up, so you can see what it looks like. I'll just bring in my comments again. Okay. So for Reddit, that's the information for us, is it? Yeah, it is. Okay. What do we have for LinkedIn? LinkedIn coaching, and it's in French. This is one of the issues I have with LinkedIn, is how they understand their data sets. They do dumping. So all of their social media, if they've made 50 videos for YouTube, they dump the 50 videos on YouTube within a minute. So you suddenly have 50 videos. Now, what happens on social media is, if you do dumping, is that people will look at the long list of 50 videos and they choose one. But then they don't do any more posts for 3 months or 2 months. So if instead of dumping all the videos in one go, they had set up a content calendar and scheduled one to go out every 2 days, awesome. Now people checking in say, oh, there's a new video and a new video and a new video, and they're more likely to see more than one. With the French thing, which you can see more clearly here, this is, if you were on Facebook, you would do target audiences and you would choose language and say French. This is free. You don't have to do it as an ad. You can do it as organic content, not as paid content. So how's your French? I think my report card from high school said, Laurel speaks a lot. Unfortunately, it's not in French. You could have guessed that, right? Let's face it, you could have guessed that one. Thank you, Miss Shepherd, French teacher, par excellence. Okay, what else do we have? That's an old one. What's Snapchat doing? How's Snapchat doing up against TikTok, especially with their rather interesting ethics, value-based branding? I'm being sarcastic here. Meditate on Snapchat with the Headspace Mini. Oh, that's interesting. So they are broadening their values into mental health. Show up and vote. This has been a fascinating election from a social media perspective. I'm particularly interested in EduSocial. Stephen Colbert set up a complete website. I mentioned it in the last discussion. And he's done a video for every single state. So this is like an influencer, bringing education, teaching every state where they go, how they vote, how they can do remote voting and everything. And then I think Michelle Obama's got an EduSocial platform. It's almost like they've discovered social media as something deeper than marketing messages. And I've been waiting for brands to get to this point. It's not just click here for a coupon, click here for a special offer, click here, do as I say, call to action, call to action, call to action. Social media is about a relationship. You and I are in a relationship. I'm not sure how you feel about our relationship, but I value it. Once you get into EduSocial, educational social media, and it's the area that I sort of, to be honest, I'm strongest on anyway, but that idea that you create a community to support. So you offer B2B services, so you offer education to those services. You know, if you're in financial services, then you offer education to small business, not just on financial services, but in every aspect to help small business. You've got a community for life. This is not something you're doing for a 6-week competition campaign. You know, we often say competitions are the lowest hanging fruit. If you don't know how to earn engagement, just chuck a competition out there. And education is something that stays with people because they often say, oh, I did a course, 4 years ago or 6 or 8 years ago, and I learnt these things, and let me pass them on to you. And these guys are awesome and I recommend them. So for brand love, for marketing, maybe not for an immediate ROI out of sales, but ROI on marketing dollars spent, Edgy Socials, totes awesome. And then you see things like Donald Trump, what's he up to? He was giving away rides in his limo the other day. COVID Express, Facebook, library, ads, blah, blah. I just want to have a look and see what he's offering at the moment. Donald Trump. They've changed the layout again. From yesterday, I literally was doing a presentation yesterday. We don't have an aggregate spend data for this page in Australia, so I need to change it from Australia to the United States. So he spent, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, I guess you can. $96 million since May the 8th until October the 13th on Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc. Ads. And in the last 7 days, 5 million. What do you reckon it'll be next week when it's only 2 weeks to go? These are the pages that are able to share the disclaimer. If you're doing issues-based advertising, you don't just have to be a Minister of Parliament to do this. Anybody can. Raising awareness or asking people to consider something. Your ads must be in the ad library, which means they're completely open for me to go being nosy about. And they must be marked as issues-based. So issues, elections and politics. Can you see that? Yes, you can. Goody. When I choose inactive, I'm looking for often ads that have been disallowed. Free tickets Saturday. Oh, I don't know when that was. Was it last week? Let's see who they targeted. Sorry, I'm yawning. I think the wine's relaxing me. I'm going to log off in a minute. Gary, if you're watching, I need a refill. Don't you love the fact that you do a live and it goes all the way to the US to the servers to come back to the lounge room downstairs to tell someone to come and fill up my champagne glass? Primarily targeting men. Now that's interesting because I've seen a lot of targeting of women through Donald Trump's campaign. And what area? What towns? Michigan. And I think it's working. And a magic off camera. And it's full again. I should be a magician. Thank you. That's the best part of this whole live stream. I can't believe I'm having a second glass. I didn't even think about it. Oh, goodness me. All right, so where were we? The ads library. So we've got Michigan here, and it's been disallowed or it's been cancelled. My guess actually is cancelled because it's probably over and done with. The unique identifier for the ad, social issues. So it's marked correctly. Ad details. I find it fascinating, and this is actually a fantastic example. He spent how many millions of dollars, and it's $100, less than $100 per ad. So what we're looking at here is hyper-targeted, hyper-geo-based, lots and lots and lots of little ads. And if you ever wondered what the long tail looked like in advertising, this is it. So I don't know if you know what the long tail is, but Amazon makes more money in the long tail instead of in the short head, which is the most popular DVDs and the most popular books and the most popular whatever it is you can buy on Amazon. They make more money from the one-offs, the people that buy one thing, but they have such a long tail. They have a list, an inventory, that they do more money in that long inventory, which you couldn't keep in a Dimmicks bookstore, and you couldn't keep in a DVD shop like a Blockbuster or what's that one in the shopping malls now? It starts with S. Sanity Records. You literally couldn't have the space for it. It would cost you too much. Every millimeter is worked out for how much it needs to ROI. When we're looking at ad inventory, classically there's been a few big players. Hi, Rupert Murdoch. And you were kind of stuck with those 5 newspapers or that local rag or those few TV stations or whatever it was. And today you can cut every ad down and make sure you're spending less than $100 on every ad, but it will eventually add up to $96 million in a few months or $5 million in 7 days. If you had $5 million to spend on ads, what would you do? Ads. I don't want to know anything else. Just what would you do if you had $5 million to spend on ads? At least some of mine would have to be social good, social entrepreneurship. Anyway, faffing now. I said I wanted to stay on Australia, so we haven't really done that. I think what I'm going to do is clean up. I haven't added any to the jobs section. I'm going to clean up my RSS reader and try and bring in more focused social media stories for Australia, because as interesting as it is to explore news from around the world, and there's no doubt that what happens in Facebook impacts us in Australia, and what happens on Twitter impacts us, and, you know, Silicon Valley, the whole world revolves around Silicon Valley when it comes to social media, except for Israel, except for Ireland, except for... That's about it, really. So I do need to keep an eye on what happens in Silicon Valley, but I also want to keep an eye on what's happening with social media campaigns in Australia. And I don't just mean that a footballer did something stupid and it got caught on Instagram and then everybody was tweeting about it. I mean actual interesting campaigns, peer-to-peer networks, the working community currencies, algorithmic-based currencies here, big data, looking at you, Quantium, and a few other... I guess tools and things like that. So, by the way, the mic that I bought, the one that's coming next week, it's a new arm, because this arm is pretty crap. And I don't know if you notice, but I knock it all the time and it makes this weird noise. So I've got a Procaster, not Podcaster, but the Procaster Rode mic with the Rode boom arm and a Rode shock mount, which is kind of a cage that sits here so that if I knock it, the mic actually is on a suspension system, a bit like a car. Mind you, the suspension in our car is not brilliant, but you know what I mean. And it's all from Rode, and Rode is from Australia, New South Wales, and I think from Silverwater. So shout out to Rode. Buy their stuff. They're Australian, they make good stuff, and I already own a whole lot of stuff from Rode, but I really wanted a more professional sounding setup, something a bit more intimate. Okay, I'm going to love you and leave you. Just to justify this video, you should maybe consider subscribing or liking, commenting, particularly share it with anybody you think would find it interesting. If you want to do a Zoom mentoring session with me, I'm here. This is what I have. Oh, I do have a green screen, which I sometimes use, but I felt like, given that we were on to our second glass of champagne, that I wouldn't bother with a green screen. Also, I couldn't think of what to put in the background. I really wanted something like astronomy and stars and some sort of nebula. So if you've got any ideas, please let me know. I don't know why. Is it part of my branding? It is now. I'm also running one day in-house classes and one day Sydney classes, but let's not even talk about that. It's Friday afternoon. So have a really fabulous weekend, and if you would like me to answer some questions or show you some things on social media, how to do ads or algorithm or newsfeed or optimization or content calendars or tools or whatever, please let me know. And I am going to love you and leave you. Bye.